House. Read by Scribbler.
June 17th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, I have selected my new name for this job, Fleur De Lis. I just love the way it looks on paper. Fleur De Lis. Quite a bit more elegant than my previous names, but given my destination of Canterlot, I think a name like it is fitting. No pony in the royal city will give the time of day to a pony named Flash Style or Sweet Serenade. No, Canterlot is a city of first impressions. The right name will go a long way. To be honest, I've always wanted to use a more stylish name like this, and it's nice to finally have an excuse to do so. I just love the way it sounds. It exudes importance. The outskirts of Canterlot really are lovely. It's my first time ever in the royal city now that I think about it. I'm so used to working in cities like Baltimore and Manhattan, but I've never been to a city quite as elegant, or rich, as Canterlot. I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, since working in the most important city in all of Equestria is certainly an intimidating thought. There is no shortage of ponies with an excess of bits here, so a bit of research has calmed my nerves. I think I've settled on the perfect candidate. Based on the information that Shady Skies has given me, this pony is rich, single, and quite trusting. Exactly the type of sap I love to see. His name is Fancy Pants, and supposedly he's one of the wealthiest ponies in Canterlot not associated with the royal family. He built his legacy in the fashion industry, not as a designer, but as a promoter. He's worth hundreds of thousands of bits, owns one of the largest mansions in the city, and supposedly he donates lots of money to charity, meaning he has plenty of bits to burn. Obviously, I don't want to rush into this. I still have much research to do. Shady Skies told me that the best resource will be one of Fancy Pants' closest friends, a stallion named Jack Grand. Another wealthy pony, but he's happily married. Not that that's ever been a deterrent in the past. I still wonder if the Spectrum family ever reconciled. But it will be much easier to go after Fancy Pants himself. I plan on using my first few days here to track down this Jack Grand character. Regardless of what happens, next week I will move forward with Fancy Pants, and I can't wait to meet him. He doesn't know it yet, but he can't wait to meet me either. June 19th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, this is going to be easier than I thought. Tracking down Jack Grand was simple. I ended up at a bar with him and his wife. All it took was a few pleasantries and an offhanded comment about how I moved to Canterlot to enter the fashion industry, not to mention a few stiff ciders, and suddenly he became an absolute flood of information about Fancy Pants. Fancy Pants has been a bachelor his whole life, and while he seems content, apparently he has a longing for a pony to share his life with. He's extremely kind and generous, and never lets his immense wealth go to his head. Most importantly, however, he's a creature of habit. He keeps to a strict schedule. Same places for lunch each week, always in the gym at 5 promptly, home by 6:45 on the nose, then either a quiet evening at home or out to be with friends. Music to my ears. Ponies who stick to schedules like that are a predictable lot. Once you get to know them, all you have to do is hold their hoof and take slow steps, and pretty soon you've won them over. Then it's just a matter of time before you can get anything you want out of them. Family secrets, locations of jewelry around the house, bank account numbers, the standard fare. It's quite the relief to be targeting a pony with such habits this time. Swift Soar was too random and rambunctious for my tastes. I bet he hasn't even checked his bank account once in the 2 weeks since I left Winneapolis. But anyway, I have all the information I need for now. The next step is simple. Sign up for an account at Canterlot Executive Fitness. P.S. Apparently Fancy Pants has a thing for pink mares. Thanks, Celestia, for that. Light blue has looked so awful on me. June 25th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, Jackpot! Just happened to bump into Fancy Pants at the gym an hour ago. He sheepishly apologized, but I could see that telltale sparkle in his eyes the moment he saw me. The pink mane certainly did it. We ended up talking for half an hour. I told him that I had just moved to Canterlot to pursue my dream of being a fashion star, and he opened up about his job and his place in the industry. At the end of our talk, he said that he hoped to see me around the gym again, and I assured him that I'd be coming back. I suspect we'll be having another conversation tomorrow, and the day after that. He certainly seemed eager to get to know me better. This might end up being my easiest job ever. I just have to bide my time and let him dictate the pace, and before I know it, he'll be all over me. July 4th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, I feel ripped off. Fancy Pants invited me out to dinner earlier today so we could get to know each other better, given that we've conversed every day for the past week. This is nothing new, as I'm quite used to suitors taking me out to dinner. I've had the luxury of sampling food from some of the most elegant and expensive restaurants in all of Equestria, so I was indeed looking forward to being wined and dined in the most extravagant city in the country. Instead, Fancy Pants took me to what can only be described as a hole in the wall. It was a tiny little restaurant on the corner of nowhere and nowhere. Fancy Pants told me it was the best food in Canterlot, but as far as I'm concerned, any restaurant that doesn't have a chandelier is scarcely a restaurant at all. We spent the evening discussing the fashion industry, but Fancy Pants seemed far more interested in learning about me and letting me talk. With all the questions he asked, I had to come up with a number of new answers on the spot. With all the targets I've had, I honestly cannot recall a single one asking me for my cutie mark story. Thankfully, coming up with stories on the fly is no challenge, so the conversation went well. Best of all, after dinner when he left, he said that he would love to see me again at some point. I think I've gotten him hook, line, and sinker. The night was a rousing success, even if the restaurant was questionable. The food was amazing, though, and we'll give him that. July 14th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, I am beginning to understand why Fancy Pants has the respect of so many ponies. We've gotten to know each other a bit better over the past week, including a dinner at another restaurant last night, and something is truly standing out about him. He seems more genuine than any pony I've worked with before. Most ponies in his situation just can't get enough of rubbing their wealth in the face of every pony around them. Fancy Pants is different, however. He seems happy, content, and downright humble. It almost makes me respect him. Almost. I've come to learn something over the past few years. Ponies of wealth are all the same. They've stepped on every pony under them, they've hoarded and used every cheap tactic in the book to get their standing in the world, and will do anything to stay there. To put it simply, they don't deserve the money they have. And that's where I come in, of course. I'd like to think of what I do as entrepreneurial wealth distribution to a pony who is clever, smart, and deserving of money. Namely, me. Fancy Pants is no different. He may have a lot of ponies fooled, but not me. I can see right through his facade. And that isn't merely intuition either. Shady Skies let me know a fascinating little tidbit. Years ago, as Fancy Pants was first rising to prominence, he was known as one of the most shrewd, cheap, and downright ruthless ponies in the industry. But at some point, he changed drastically into the kind pony that he is now. Most ponies think that something happened to make him change his ways. I don't buy that for a Celestia forsaken second. He hasn't changed. He's just gotten better at covering it up. However, this does give me a secondary goal. I'm rather interested in finding out exactly what happened all those years ago. It's so nice to have a hobby when you're on the job. July 30th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, Fancy Pants has invited me to a large dinner party taking place at his house tonight. In other words, I'm in. He already considers me more than just an acquaintance. This should be a great opportunity to gather more details about him. July 31st, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, the dinner party last night was most enlightening. Fancy Pants' mansion, while certainly large, was not nearly as extravagant as I expected it to be, what with the breathtaking exterior being the most notable thing about it. The walls were mostly covered in nice art, nothing too expensive looking though. But I was surprised at how simple the rest of the estate is. He seemed to have spent more money on chefs and catering for the party itself, as the food was top-notch and the service was exquisite. The company that arrived appeared to have all been upper class as well, but they were pleasant enough to be around. It ended up being a fairly low-key affair, just boring conversations. In fact, the only real excitement came from when Platinum Glimmer lost her favorite golden bangle, and Fancy Pants spent a whole half hour failing to locate it. Speaking of, Fancy Pants seemed quite eager to introduce me around to ponies. Even I have to admit I was impressed with how much he remembered about me. What details I gave him, anyway. Usually the ponies I court have forgotten everything about me by the second date, too wrapped up in trying to impress me to actually remember a damn thing. I'll admit, it was nice to feel appreciated by one of these fortune-obsessed ninnies for once. Overall, even I have to say that I had a pleasant enough time at the party. That said, what's far more important is that not only am I gaining Fancy Pants' trust, but it appears that he is beginning to consider me more than just a friend. He seems very interested in becoming closer with me, which is exactly what I want at this point. All I have to do is convince him that I am looking for a very special some pony as well, and things will be absolutely perfect. I wonder how much a gold bangle can sell for on the Canterlot black market. August 1st, 3251. 316 bits, apparently. Just enough to buy a hoof-woven pink silk scarf from Toity by Design. August 8th, 3251 AC. Dear Diary, I ran into Jack Grand again. Now, my confidence is soaring, but something we talked about had my curiosity piqued. He told me that he hasn't seen Fancy Pants so excited in quite some time, that there's a pep in his step that has been there ever since he first ran into me. Grand said that Fancy Pants talks about me often, and how there is just something about her that is oh so wonderful. Thankfully, I think he interpreted my excitement over hearing that as me merely being interested in Fancy Pants as well. This is really turning out to be far easier than I expected. We chatted for a bit longer before I decided to delve deeper into Fancy Pants' secret. I asked Jack about him, mentioning that I had heard of Fancy Pants' past as being a bit dark, and I was wondering what had happened. Jack got very awkward and mumbled for a bit, clearly not exactly comfortable with the information. He told me that Fancy Pants indeed used to be rather rude, outspoken, and outright heartless, but at some point, something happened. Even Jack doesn't know what it was, as Fancy Pants has never discussed the specifics, but all he knows is that after some incident, Fancy Pants was suddenly making an effort to be a better pony. I'm now more intrigued than ever. Something big happened, and I'm determined to find out what it was. As far as I can tell, the only pony to know exactly what is Fancy Pants himself, and I have a feeling that I'll have to get far closer than I already am in order to get that information. Still, it seems like a wonderful challenge, given that enticing him has proved so fruitful. Nothing else really came up in the conversation, although he did mention that he was overseeing the production of Phantomare of the Opera coming to Canterlot in late September. I'll admit, I'm rather jealous. I've always dreamt of seeing that performance in person. I asked about tickets, but apparently they've been sold out ever since the production was first announced 6 months ago. Damn shame. Perhaps I should have visited earlier this year. I think I'd like to start moving even faster with my relationship with Fancy Pants. Given that he's quite enamored with me, I suspect it should be easy to visit some landmarks if I just ask. I wonder if he'd be interested in visiting Childlike Gardens tomorrow. September 9th, 3251. Dear Diary, the past several weeks can only be described as a whirlwind romance. At least that's what Fancy Pants has probably called it. I'd say it's been more of a rousing few weeks of progress. We have been seeing each other practically every day. We've been to the park, Childlike Gardens, the Shahaley Glass Museum. This city really does have the most amazing sights. Fancy Pants is absolutely head over heels for me at this point. Whenever I look at him, he has a sparkle in his eyes, like a filly on hearth-warming eve. It really is quite adorable, albeit in a sad sort of way. It really is pathetic that he's become so in love with me so quickly. Granted, it may be because he seems like a nice sentimental sap. But still, it's almost nauseating how much he wants to see me. Yesterday, while Fancy Pants was showing me the brand new miniature Kraken exhibit at the Childlike Aquarium, we ran into a couple that he is close friends with, and Fancy Pants introduced me as a very close friend with a curious smirk upon his face. Later on, when Fancy Pants excused himself, the couple told me how happy they were to see that Fancy Pants had found a special sun pony. Ugh. Apparently, despite his wonderful attitude and charitable demeanor, he's been a bachelor most of his life, and his friends all expected him to remain that way. It reminded me of the way a mother talks about their child finally making friends. Oh well, this is to be expected with someone as socially active as Fancy Pants, I guess. Well, if he wants to remain in puppy dog love with me, I'll be happy to oblige. I just need to bide my time until I can get access to the right information. That's all. September 17th, 3251. I don't know what to say. An hour ago, Fancy Pants stopped by my place and told me he had a present for me. I assumed it would be something elegant, like some clothes or a new pair of earrings, the standard fare. But instead, he pulled out 2 small slips of paper and handed me one. It took a few seconds to even comprehend what I was holding. A ticket to the opening night performance of the Phantom Air of the Opera tomorrow evening. First balcony, front row. The most perfect seats in the theater. Fancy Pants told me that Jack Grand informed him of my interest in the show, so he pulled a few strings to get the tickets. I can't even begin to fathom what he went through to get these, not to mention the monumental expense of them. All for me. It's the most thoughtful thing any pony has ever done for me. Tomorrow night, I'll be living out a dream I've had since being a filly. I'll be attending a performance of the greatest musical in equestrian history. I never thought that coming to Childlike I'd have the greatest night of my life, living out a dream I thought was unobtainable, thanks to his generosity. Nope. September 18th, 3251. Dear Diary, this night was everything I could ever have imagined and more. I'm exhausted, but I have to write my thoughts down lest I forget anything. I want this to be a night I remember for the rest of my life. So many members of the press were outside the theater, photographing the arriving ponies. Even Princess Celestia and Princess Luna were there for the premiere. Fancy and I walked into the theater together, with camera flashes all around. It was the kind of thing every mare dreams of. The play itself was breathtaking. Every actor gave performances filled with such raw emotion. I've never seen such acting in my life. The music. All I have to say is that I truly was moved to tears at the rendition of Music of the Moon. It was absolutely everything I ever dreamt of for this show. And Fancy was an absolute gentle colt. He took the time to introduce me to associates of the play, and even managed to get us backstage for a few minutes after the play. I honestly cannot believe how kind he was all night, given his standing in Childlike, especially after all the other ponies I have known over the years. Not only was he responsible for this whole night, but he also helped make it that much more wonderful. September 19th, 3251. No, I'm not going to let myself fall for a gesture like that. It was more extravagant than what other ponies would have done, granted, but it's still just a gesture, nothing more. I will not let this happen. I absolutely refuse to let it happen. I have gone through this con numerous times over the years. It's not going to go any differently this time. I need to focus and remember my priorities. I didn't come here to have pleasant times with Fancy Pants. I came here for a reason. I will admit that he's nicer than any pony I've ever gotten to know, as well as more generous. But that won't change anything. I won't let myself be fooled by it. He has money, and that's all that is important. I can't let myself get distracted by theater, or charm, or charisma. I just need to refocus and remember why I'm here. I've done this plenty of times before. No reason that this is going to end any different. September 20th, 3251. Dear Diary, Fancy Pants surprised me at my apartment and took me out to dinner at one of the nicest restaurants in all of Equestria. It was far more what I'm used to out of my suitors. I honestly had no idea that Fancy Pants was such a connoisseur of the theater. I assumed he just bought the tickets to impress me, but it appears he enjoys a properly done play just as much as I do. He's not only donated considerably to the Canterlot Theatre, but he's attended countless performances as well. Apparently in his youth, he even dabbled in acting a bit. That was just the jumping-off point that I needed to pursue my little side project. I got him to talk about how he broke into the fashion business. Then I made a little offhanded comment about how ruthless I've heard the business could be. That is when things got interesting. Fancy Pants went very quiet and awkward. He finally sputtered out, "I know how that can be," before quickly changing the subject. I didn't press, but I had exactly what I came for. The confirmation that something happened in the past, and he at least trusts me enough to acknowledge it. I'm closer than ever to him. As long as I keep this up, I'll be close enough to gain that information, and his bank account number, of course, and I can move on. October 15th, 3251. Dear Diary, the past several weeks have been some of the most entertaining and rewarding of my life. It's honestly been years since I remember enjoying my time on the job, as it were. Fancy Pants and I have been hitting every corner of Canterlot, attending play after play. We've seen performances of all the classics, from Romule and Fillette to Hoofloose. If I had known that this city had such a deep, thriving theater scene, I would have come here far, far sooner. Fancy Pants seem to have an inn almost everywhere. It's basically like owning a key to the city. Best of all, he asked me to stay over at his mansion tonight. I'm in the guest bedroom right now, but the mere fact that he's letting me stay here is a good sign. There have been a few hiccups, but it appears that those are over. If I play my cards right, I can be out of here by the end of the year. Now that I think about it, I may have underestimated Fancy Pants' wealth. I bet I can get a lot more out of him than I anticipated. But for now, I'll keep things going. The past few weeks have been very fun, and apparently tomorrow Fancy Pants wanted to spend a quiet day at home. I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be very, very boring. I wonder if he has any forgotten jewelry laying around. October 16th, 3251. When I was a little filly, my foster mother would tell me to not cause a ruckus, or else the evil spirit of disharmony, discord, would drag me into his world of chaos. I always thought it was just a myth, the kind of silly fable that parents tell their children to keep them in line. But I'm standing on Fancy Pants' balcony, and in the distance I can see Discord himself. I don't know what happened. There was a loud explosion and he emerged in the distance. He's a terrifying creature. His entire body is made up of a mismatch of animals, and he's been laughing for minutes on end. The world is warping around him. The sky has turned bright pink. Buildings are floating. There's panic in the streets. A street lamp just morphed into several snakes, which are now terrorizing ponies. It's terrifying, but I can't stop staring at it all. What does this mean for Equestria? I saw Princess Celestia, but all she did was say something to Discord, then fly off. Does that mean that even she's not powerful enough to stop him? Oh dear Celestia, he's looking this way! I have to write. I have to. It's the only thing that can possibly keep me calm now. I'm in the back corner of Fancy Pants' basement. I don't know how long I've been here. A few hours? There's a window near the ceiling, but I can't see the sun. It's covered up by pink clouds. Even the window has warped itself into a sunburst. From what little I can see outside, Discord has completely taken over Canterlot. The buildings are twisted and floating. There are random animals rushing back and forth. Objects are transforming at random. It's terrifying. I don't even know where Discord is. For all I know, he could be right outside the window waiting for me. I'm too afraid to check. Fancy Pants saved my life. When Discord saw me, he threw something. I don't know what it was, but before it hit me, Fancy Pants jumped out onto the balcony and tackled me out of the way. Whatever it was that Discord threw at me, it destroyed half of the living room. Fancy Pants carried me down to his basement, to safety. I honestly have no idea how I managed to hold on to my diary. Instinct, perhaps. A little bit ago, Fancy Pants left. He said he had to go check on his friends and get an update on what's happening in Canterlot. He hasn't returned yet. I'd go check on him, but I don't want to move. I can't move. I'm too paralyzed. I don't want this to be the end of Equestria. I don't want to die. I'm crying for the first time I can even remember. Please come back, Fancy. I miss you. I don't want to be alone anymore. October 18th, 3251. Dear Diary, it's over. Discord was defeated. The elements of harmony locked him back in stone, and Equestria has returned to normal. The streets are now filled with celebrating ponies. Apparently there is going to be an official ceremony tomorrow, but for now this is merely celebration. I was home for only a few hours before Fancy Pants stopped by. He took me to a quiet hill on the outskirts of the city so we could overlook all the festivities. After a few minutes of silence, he leaned in and nuzzled me. He apologized for leaving me alone. He said that he now regrets any time we don't have together. He told me that he loved me. October 31st, 3251. Dear Diary, life has completely returned to normal, almost as if nothing happened. I've been using the past week or so just to be myself, clear my head and try to refocus. Fancy Pants took me out for Nightmare Night to look at the decorations around the city. At the end of the night, however, he did something that I wasn't quite expecting. He asked me to move in with him. This is utterly perfect. He trusts me enough to let me live with him now. I'm closer than ever. And quite frankly, I'm glad. My time here has been rewarding, but a lot has happened that has thrown me off my game. All the generosity, the major events, Discord, the connection with Fancy Pants. I'm not used to things like this happening. I've always been able to adapt to the unexpected, but never on this level before. It's been like flirting with disaster at times. But now I can put all of that behind me. Moving in with Fancy Pants will hopefully remind me of exactly why I came to Canterlot. For money. Nothing more. November 7th, 3251. Dear Diary, Fancy Pants and I ran into the most interesting pony today. She seemed like your average pony, but we found out that not only is she staying at the castle, but she's friends with Princess Celestia herself. She had wonderfully expensive tastes, the kind of pony who most certainly has lots of money. Once I'm done in Canterlot, she might be an interesting new target. November 9th, 3251. She lives in Ponyville. Forget it. November 17th, 3251. As a moving-in gift, Fancy Pants got me something. It's a copy of the script used for the rehearsals of Phantomare of the Opera. It was even signed by a majority of the cast. Fancy knows someone who was a part of the play and had them all sign it for me. He said he had been waiting for a truly special occasion to give it to me. It was supposed to be my heartwarming gift, but he said he couldn't wait any longer. It's breathtaking. I've never owned a script before. It's a one-of-a-kind item, the kind that you treasure for your whole life. I can't do this. November 18th, 3251. Dear Diary, I had to take a day away from Canterlot. I told Fancy Pants that I was visiting family. I'm in a small motel, one train stop outside the city. I couldn't be there anymore. Things are moving too quickly for me. I don't know how to deal with this. Every single con before this one has gone similarly. The pony is some rich sleazebag who doesn't deserve their money. I show up and they start hurling bits my way to impress me, parading me around like some kind of trophy to all their friends. Soon they're puttying my hooves, and all I need to do is ask for, say, a bank account number to make a quick withdrawal, and I'm thousands of bits richer and on to the next town. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. But there's something different about Fancy Pants. He's genuine. He doesn't let his money dictate his life. He's defined himself as a pony who isn't just rich, but who uses his money for good rather than just wallowing in his richness. He's different. He's truly different. And I enjoy every minute I'm with him. We've been enjoying plays, we've taken walks throughout the quieter parts of the city, we've visited landmarks in every corner of Canterlot. Fancy has introduced me to some of the most important ponies in Canterlot, taken me to some of the nicest events, and shown me the most amazing sights. And he did it while treating me like a pony, not like a trophy. Not like some piece of meat for him to show his friends, but like a pony. I'm not ignorant or pretentious. What I do is wrong. I steal from rich ponies. I'm evil. I made peace with that a long time ago. It's no fur off my muzzle. Rich ponies are all the same, and I exploit their weak minds, their neurotic need for approval, and their often lust-filled brains for my own profit. But these past few months have just felt so nice. To actually be treated with dignity and respect. To feel welcome. To feel loved, cared for. I'm not sure where to go from here. Doing this is all I know, and I'm not about to jeopardize that. In any case, Fancy Pants said he wanted me back tomorrow for a night out on the town. For now, it'll be a nice night. Perhaps afterwards I can get everything sorted out. November 20th, 3251. Last night. I returned to Canterlot just as the sun was setting last night. I was prepared to have a fun night with Fancy Pants, then maybe figure all of this out. I was expecting Fancy Pants to greet me dressed to the nines, with reservations for the finest restaurant or perhaps another play. Instead, I found him in his living room, in tears. He hugged me as soon as he saw me. He didn't even bother to hide how upset he was. It took a few minutes for him to calm down, but he eventually told me why he wanted me home today. He needed to be with some pony. This was the anniversary of the lowest point in his life, and every year previous he'd been alone. It happened 10 years ago, when he was just becoming a prominent name in the industry. He had gotten there through the typical means, ruthlessness and cutthroat strategy. Every pony respected him and admired him, even though they were used to his angry outbursts. One day, some very young new intern spilled coffee all over his suit and some designs he had been considering. He was furious at her, and without thinking about it, he threw his coffee in her face. He hadn't even considered the fact that it was freshly brewed and still scalding hot. She was taken to the hospital with severe burns, but more importantly, permanent ocular damage to her right eye. He paid for her hospital bills, but never got charged for anything by the authorities. After that, he never heard from her again. She quit the fashion industry completely and moved out of Canterlot in short order. He has no idea where she went. He made a vow after that to be a better pony, but he's never forgiven himself. I've never seen a stallion weep so openly the way Fancy did. He held me tighter. He said I'm the first pony he's been able to feel truly close to since then. He knows that it's only been half a year, but regardless, he's so thankful that I'm in his life now. And I told him that I feel the same way. We never went out. He had planned to use the night out to distract himself, but he said he didn't need it anymore. We spent the night just talking, enjoying each other's company, telling stories. I told him things about my childhood I've never told any pony, and he told me about how he got his cutie mark. I've never connected to a pony like I did last night. We fell asleep in each other's forelegs. Before he fell asleep, Fancy Pants told me he loved me. And I told him I loved him too. And I'm scared that I meant it. November 25th, 3251. Dear Diary, I've had the past several days to think about it, and I've made my decision. I'm going to leave Canterlot, and I'm not going to return. Fancy Pants is a good pony, a kind pony, and shouldn't be punished. He is a rare breed, a pony who actually doesn't let his money control him. More importantly, I don't deserve a pony like Fancy Pants. Conning is all I know. I don't think that I can change who I am. And after all I've done, I certainly don't deserve to be in a happy relationship with some pony. I love Fancy Pants. I truly do. But I don't deserve to be loved back. Fancy has been out for most of the day. He has some kind of important meeting. The sun just set. I think it is high time I moved on to a new city. Perhaps someplace simple like Las Pegasus. There's bound to be a pony there I can return to basics with. I think I'll take one last walk around the neighborhood, though. I will miss this city. I'm sorry, Fancy.
Fleur wrapped her hoof around the doorknob to Fancy Pants' mansion, pausing to take a look behind her. The skyline of Canterlot lit up the night sky, and she admired the sparkling lights for a few moments before exhaling a sigh.
Ah, well,
she said to herself, pushing the door open.
It wasn't meant to be.
She stepped into the mansion and looked forward, then froze in place, her body going numb. Fancy Pants sat on one of the large leather chairs in the main living room of the mansion. His horn glowed a bright gold, and a small book hovered in front of him. Fleur didn't need to see the binding to know what the book was. Her grip on the door loosened, and it swung shut, finally drawing Fancy Pants' attention. He and Fleur locked eyes, staring at each other in a tense silence that seemed to have no end. Finally, Fancy Pants sighed and closed the book.
The appointment was cancelled. I thought I'd come home and see if you were interested in getting a late dinner. I found this sitting on the living room table.
Sweat poured down Fleur's face.
I left it on the table?
Was all she could think. She opened her mouth, but closed it just as quickly.
I thought it was some sort of story you were writing, a hidden little talent you hadn't told me about. Then I got to more recent entries.
He trailed off, and Fleur turned away. Silence surrounded them for almost a full minute before she was able to speak up.
Well, when are they coming?
What?
I know you've called the cops. When will they be here?
Fancy Pants slowly lowered the book down onto the table. With a sympathetic sigh, he stood up.
I haven't called the authorities, Fleur, and I'm not going to.
Fleur turned back to Fancy Pants in shock. He stepped forward, but she instinctively took a small step back as he approached.
But everything in that book is true. Every single word,
she said, tears welling up in her eyes as she choked on her words.
I seduced you, played you like a fool. I even stole your friend's golden bangle. Why in Equestria would...
She was interrupted when Fancy Pants leaned his head forward and nuzzled her cheek. She didn't speak as he rubbed against her for a few seconds, then pulled away.
Because I love you, Fleur.
The words pierced her ears, leaving her standing in complete disbelief. Her legs shook as she tried to speak, but all she was able to get out was...
Your intentions were wrong, and even you know that. Your basis for first meeting me was entirely a lie.
Fancy said, his gaze averted.
I'll even admit that the initial stages of our relationship were all based on a lie.
He paused, then turned back to Fleur, now with a smile.
But the connection that we had, all the time we spent together, Fleur, I don't believe there was a way any of that was faked. The pony who I have become so close to isn't a lie. Whether it was your intention or not, I have gotten to know who you really are. The things you have done are wrong, but the pony you are is wonderful.
Fleur couldn't take it and turned her head to the side.
No, it's not. I'm not a good pony, Fancy. What I do is wrong. It's evil. What I am is evil.
No, you're not.
Fancy quietly replied.
I don't believe in evil ponies anymore. I think that at heart, you are truly a good pony. A wonderful, talented pony who has used her talents in bad ways. I don't want you to leave, Fleur.
Stop,
Fleur whispered, her eyes welling up again.
I love you. I love you so much, Fleur. You don't
Stop!
Fleur yelled, turning away.
Don't make this any harder than it already is!
Fleur shivered, her head lowered to the ground and her eyes tightly shut. She waited for Fancy to say something, but instead she felt his hoof cradle under her chin. He lifted her head up, and she slowly opened her eyes, now face to face with Fancy Pants. After a pause, he smiled, gently wiping a tear from her cheek.
Fleur, the mere fact this is hard for you tells me that you feel the same way that I do, even if you don't realize it.
Fleur sniffled, turning her head away again.
Fancy, this is all I know. I can't just stop.
I can't force you to stay. I would never do that.
Fancy quietly said, shaking his head.
The decision is yours. If you really believe that you can't stop, that you can't change, then I won't stop you. But you need to know something. You need to know just how much you mean to me.
Fancy.
Ponies can change, Fleur. I'm proof of it.
Fancy paused before his horn glowed and Fleur's diary hovered in front of him.
The past doesn't have to dictate who you are now.
Fleur reached up and took the diary in her hoof. She slowly flipped through the pages, then looked back at Fancy. He responded with a smile.
Please, Fleur, just think about it. I truly believe things can be different.
November 26th, 3251. I'm done with Canterlot. I'm currently on a train back to Detroit. Ponies can't change. I can't change. I'm going to lay low for a few weeks, then talk to Shady again. He might know a job that I don't have to think about, that I can simply jump into. One that won't be as complicated. January 4th, 3252. Dear Diary, I have selected my new name for this job, Golden Charm. It's only fitting for Las Pegasus, really, the luckiest city in Equestria. I'm shocked that in all my years I've never once bothered to visit. I suppose it was too easy a target. The glitz, the glamour, It's easy to blend in here if you look the part. A golden mane will likely help me. Speaking of targets, Shady Skies gave me a tip on a surefire hit. His name is Lucky Stroke, and like his name implies, he's the luckiest pony in the luckiest city. Or so he says, of course. There have been accusations of meddling with slot machines and counting cards, but no pony has ever been able to prove anything. As such, he's built up quite the fortune and owns the penthouse on the top floor of Trot Tower. He also has a strong addiction to cider, 4 failed marriages, and 2 restraining orders. He's absolutely pathetic. I love it. January 7th, 3252. Dear Diary, I have it on good authority that Lucky Stroke will be at the Horseshoe Casino tonight. I suppose it's not really big news when he's there 5 nights out of the week, but tonight should be a great way to get to know my target a little bit. Adjusting to Las Pegasus has been more challenging than I thought. The city is almost too glitzy for my tastes. I think I prefer the more quiet, elegant life of a city like Canterlot. I really do miss the Royal City. I miss the buildings. I miss the plays. I miss the quiet parks and the beautiful scenery. I miss him. I'll make the most of this city. With how piteous Lucky Strike sounds, I won't be here long. January 8th, 3252. Dear Diary, last night was certainly stunning. As soon as I walked up to the table, Lucky Stroke grabbed me and begged me to blow on dice for him. They came up 7, and he declared me his new good luck charm. I could practically see the cider fumes coming out of his mouth. He ended up in the green, as he always did. I'd bet the script from my most prized possession that he is using loaded dice. These casinos really have terrible security. He practically begged me to meet him at the same table later tonight. The poor pony couldn't keep his hooves off me last night, so I figure he's a quick mover. Too quick for my tastes, really. I wish he would have at least taken me out to dinner or something. It's not that hard. Fancy did. Dear Diary, I am in Lucky Stroke's penthouse. He basically dragged me up here after a night of drinking and gambling. He said that I was the one for him, that he had been searching for his true love his whole life, and finally found it in me. His idea of true love would be a drunken kiss, and then passing out on his bed. His penthouse certainly is a spectacle. The entire place shimmers, and he has all his valuables out on display. I don't see a safe anywhere. Not to mention that with the amount that he drank last night, Lucky Stroke could probably sleep through the moon exploding at this point. If I wanted, I could be thousands of bits richer and be out of Las Pegasus within an hour. But I'm not. I'm just sitting here, writing. Everything he said to me just feels different now. So artificial. So fake. It's always been fake. I wish I could say something like I don't know why it suddenly bothers me, but that'd be lying to myself. I know exactly why. It's because of him. For once, I actually got to feel something real, something special, something I hadn't experienced in my whole life. I've said countless times that conning is all I know, but in Canterlot I got to learn something new, something that I should have held on to. But here I am in Las Pegasus, watching some sleazebag who tried to grope me drool all over his golden bed. I've made a terrible mistake. But I think it's a mistake that I can rectify. Dear Lucky Stroke, drink some coffee before you read on. It'll ease the headache. In fact, maybe lay off the cider a bit altogether. You smell like an abandoned apple factory. By the time you read this, I will no longer be in Las Pegasus. Everything I told you in the past few days, absolutely everything, is a lie. Here is a dose of truth for you. I was planning to gain your trust, seduce you, then rob you blind and leave Las Pegasus. I could do it, too. I've done it numerous times in the past, and you seemed like the easiest target yet. But I'm not going to do it this time. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, to be quite honest. I haven't thought that far ahead. All I've thought about is the short term. Something else has come up, and I'm off to a different city. Don't bother trying to look for me. I don't plan on ever meeting you again. I want to give you a bit of advice. Be careful. You're quite the carefree pony, but that will get you in trouble if you're too open about it. I'm off to a new city, one that I'll be spending quite some time in. I've spent the better part of my life going to new cities, spending a few months in them and then never returning. But this time is going to be different. For the first time, I'm going to a city I've been before. A city where some pony is waiting for me. This is goodbye forever. I suppose I would feel a lot sadder if I had known you for more than just a few days. But in all honesty, I really don't want to get to know you anymore. Just keep going on with your life as if I was never here. Drinking, gambling, and cheating. By the way, you have the sorriest excuse for fake dice I have ever seen. It's a miracle that the casino hasn't caught on. I doubt you have any interest in changing your life. All I'm going to suggest is that you at least think about what I've written here, and more importantly, be careful. There are ponies who make bad decisions out there. I was one of them. Sincerely, Golden Charm, no. White Rose, no. Fleur De Lis.